how they line up. Marshall J. Brewer through winning the earlier heat. Starts on pole. Brad Jones in second spot. From 3, it's John Faulkner in the Commodore. Gary Rogers, the EB Falcon, out of 4. 5, it's Grand Monday in the Holden Commodore. Mark Seaton cut number 23 from position number 10. That's the order, with Bradley Jones in the Castrol Commodore on the outside of the front row, and Marshall Brewer in car number 69, the pole sitter, the man who won, Brad Jones, there in the cockpit. It's going to be a tough race. Line astern as they come down. Spectators giving them a good farewell. 50 laps. Marshall J. Brewer gets away smartly from Brad Jones. John Faulkner on the inside. And Gary Rogers out very smartly in the EB Falcon on the outside, the Valvoline entry. He has Terry Wyhoon right behind him. Next is Ken James in the Adjib entry as they work the back straight, and Jones trying to tuck in the draft now of Marshall J. Brewer as they come howling along the back straight and peel off like a fighter squadron into turn number 3.
Well, Brewer got a great start. If there's anything that could be called slightly jumping the start, he had his foot down just momentarily before Brad got into it, and it served him well to get into turn 1 first.
Look at this, Brewer, and here comes John Faulkner straight down on the inside. Now, Brad Jones has caught himself one out and offline, and that has given Faulkner the inside run down the back straight as he works away at Marshall Brewer. And Jones desperately trying to get down to the inside of Brewer as well. And here he comes, puts the nose through. Terry Wyhoon follows him through that gap, and Gary Rogers in there. Real race going here as they come across the line for the completion of the second lap.
It's Commodore, 1, 2, 3, 4. Gary Rogers moves up with the EB Falcon as quick this forward, and car 50 Grant Monday. That's the top 5. As they come into turn 1, beginning of this absorbing 50-lap contest. Brad Jones, boy, haven't the tables turned for him in the last 12 months. A lot of very competitive cars out there matching him for race speed, almost toppling him for qualifying time, and he's going to work very hard today.
Well, as Brad mentioned, he had to do a lot of changing there in between heats, and the last thing any driver likes to have to do is change and guess and wonder what's happening.
Well, Marshall Brewer's in all sorts of trouble there. He slipped right back. He's back with Grant Monday. I don't know what happened. He seemed to pick up his pace as he came past the tri-oval that time, but he's dropped 5 positions in the distance of about 3/4 of a lap.
Well, that'd have to be engine. He might have been a bit too exuberant on that opening lap, and he's hurt something in the engine, and it's just slowly pegging him back.
Now, significantly here, Gary Rogers, as we look at Peter Fitzgerald closing up on the back of Marshall Brewer. Marshall's got some sort of problem.
They are deceptively fast through the turns here at Calder Park Thunderdome. John Faulkner in the better Commodore, and it certainly seems to be that way today, leads them into turn number 1. Right behind him is Bradley Jones, the Castrol Commodore, Gary Rogers and the Falcon EB. And then they've opened up a fairly handsome gap now over Terry Wyhoon, Grant Monday, and then, of course,
Castrol Commodore, Castrol race cam. As Jones has a look down the inside of John Faulkner, hard under brakes as they swing into the banking of turn 1. Jones sneaks underneath him, but John Faulkner will not let him go without a fight. Meanwhile, Gary Rogers has taken advantage of that little manoeuvre to climb up onto the back of Faulkner. It's 1, 2, 3, Holden forward.
Well, that was a cheeky move. Brad did a nice number there, and John Faulkner didn't appear to fight back, and Brad's taken advantage of it and zipped out another car length on him.
Here's Gary Rogers, the Falcon now, starting to make a run on the inside of the Commodore. This is 3rd for 2nd, and he takes him.
This is a great charge from Gary Rogers. Half a second slower in qualifying, and all of a sudden he's matching the race pace of these 2 great drivers, Faulkner and Brad Jones. But Gary Rogers has an enormous amount of experience. Well, and John Faulkner standing behind the bumper, big surge of speed.
Almost as if he went down to light up a cigarette or something, but I guess he wouldn't be doing that around here.
It almost looked like he went to sleep. John Faulkner took advantage of the opportunity, and Gary Rogers gets pushed back to 3rd in one fell swoop. So the Ford goes back to 3rd position. Terry Wyhoon on his hammer, and Grant Monday in car 50 rounds out the 5. So Brad Jones, as you can see by that wide shot, is spreading down the inside of Gary Rogers, turning tables. Falcon was showing an enormous amount of speed in the opening laps, and now Terry Wyhoon picks up Rogers as well.
What we don't see, Mark, is how some of these fellows come off turns 1 and 2, particularly 2. They get an extra fast run down the back straight, and then all of a sudden they are on the leaders' bumper bars and passing them like they're standing still.
Well, Gary must have a problem here. They're picking him off one by one each lap. Grant Monday sneaks under the Falcon as well. So it's Jones, Faulkner, Terry Wyhoon, and Gary Rogers. Marshall Brewer has regathered his speed and moves up to 5th position.
off turn number 4. Bradley Jones, the Castrol, also ducks down beneath Brewer to pick up 1 spot on the exit to turn number 2.
Well, Rogers obviously has a problem.
He's in there changing outside wheels. That's all they have to do, change the outside wheels and tyres, and they're ready to go back in. They'll drop a lap, but everyone does the same.
He may have been unhappy with his handling, Mike, and said, look, I want to get in here and get this quick modification while I'm in, bonnet up, maybe some front roll bar adjustments while they're at it. But normally, I would think Brad Jones will be saying, I'm staying out here until I see a yellow. And the moment that yellow hits, I'm coming in.
Yes, that'd be probably the wise decision. Here's Jones.
Just over a second lead on John Faulkner. Terry Wyhoon hanging into 3rd position. Grant Munday 4th. And Marshall Brewer climbing back to round out the 5. So Gary Rogers drops out of the battle quite suddenly. And Brad Jones showing a lot of race speed. John Faulkner certainly a match for him throughout qualifying. And Heat 1 today with Bradley Jones showing great speed. At least 100 metres on him as they head down the back straight. There's Terry Wyhoon in 3rd place.
Here, the Valvoline crew on Gary Rogers' car.
And that's more than a handling problem.
Yep.
The roll bar is not generally connected to the valve covers.
So, sweep into turn 1 once again. John Faulkner 2nd. Terry Wyhoon. Good performance from Wyhoon. Not a big. If he stops out there, we'll have the yellows out very quickly. Yeah.
That's all we need for the mandatory stops now.
This is what Bradley Jones will be looking for.
Now they'll have to pick to see what happens. Brad Jones, and this is the race leader, John Faulkner, who runs in 2nd spot. Terry Wyhoon in 3rd. Grant Munday in 4th. They are all headed for the pits. Here's Jones pulling up. About to change the tyres. Jack the side of the car up. There's Faulkner's crew. They're already at it. Not too much between the two of them.
Marshall Brewer's rejoined. He's come back into the pits as well, so he must have an additional problem. Oh, there's been a collision down the end of pit lane. Marshall Brewer trying to get out. Meanwhile, Brad Jones and John Faulkner, these are the guys, the main protagonists in this competition.
Jones
Faulkner's
has got
crew
something
pretty
on
slick.
the left front.
Yeah.
Something, car still in the air. They're fooling around with the left front.
Pace car's half the way down back straight.
This is the last thing you want.
This is nail-biting stuff, but Bradley has everything under control. He gets back out. Now he's going to really hammer it. The lights are still on the pace car, so we won't have...
Well, fortunately, that's not going to affect him too greatly. He'll be able to pick up what he's lost in the pits behind Marshall Brewer. But he's not going to be able to pick up John Faulkner. There's Bradley trying to pick it up behind the pace car at the moment. They've all just about completed their stops.
Yeah, she lose the psychological edge there. Mikey wanted to be out in front again.
Grant Munday moves up into 3rd. This is so important to get the whole shot here. Pace car will pull off the circuit in the next turn. Beautifully turned out Ford pace cars here at Thunderdome. And here is the pace car ready to leave from the circuit, which it does. And now it is time to get it down. John Faulkner jumps up on the outside. There's Brad Jones and the Castrol Commodore going after him. Grant Munday on the outside of Gary Rogers. He goes down a lap or so as they sweep down into the first turn, with Jones now dialing right in, getting in the draft now. John Faulkner, has he got some speed in reserve? Jones gets to the inside as they come along the back straight and passes John Faulkner as they zip up into turn number 3. So Jones back to the lead in the Castrol Commodore. Faulkner in 2nd, and Grant Munday is in 3rd.
Well, Brad Jones is showing that he wants that lead. He doesn't feel comfortable in 2nd spot. He's not worried about what the others have got. He wants his car flat to the floor and get some of that real estate behind him, and he's doing that nicely.
Just look at the little bit of area he pulls out on John Faulkner here. Faulkner being able to match him through qualifying, but there's a bit of extra speed on board. Marshall Brewer has looked down the inside, but Marshall's a lap down.
Yes.
Ooh,
that was close.
Gives a brush at the rear quarter panel on Faulkner's Commodore. He wouldn't like that, particularly with a lap car. So Faulkner tries to put a bit of air between himself and Marshall Brewer. Marshall, meanwhile, is trying to get himself unlapped as they pick their way through these slower cars in the opening laps following the yellow flag restart.
And he's scrapping here for 2nd and 3rd. It's just money in the bank for Brad Jones. Always go just that tad slower when you're trying to fend off somebody else. And here's 3rd spot now for Faulkner.
Faulkner's been pushed wide. Terry Wyhoon comes through on the inside as well. And down the inside comes Grant Munday, 3 abreast. Grant Munday's got great positioning here.
Great racing here today at Calder Park Thunderdome, being watched by a huge and appreciative crowd.
Terry Wyhoon's doing a great job here. He blew his own engine on Friday and ended up having to borrow an engine from Rodney Jane's old Commodore VL. Well, it's certainly done pretty well. And stuck it in here. He qualified 5th. And he's showing a lot of good race speed here.
I sometimes think, Mark, the old parts are better than the new ones. And going on performances at Bathurst last week, I'm becoming a real advocate of that feeling.
Now here's the mover in the pack, Bruce Williams, in the Bendix green and white Commodore.
He's moving up on the tail now, Peter Fitzgerald. They're both hauling in John Faulkner.
This is the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th. Good run for Fitzy too, the new Commodore VP. He's only had a couple of outings in Auscar since he first debuted in the series last season, but coming to grips with Auscar quite well. Nicely built car, immaculately presented, running in the Goodyear colours. And this is quite a consistent run from Fitzy today.
This is what close racing is all about. You can see a few of the bumps there along the back straight. As they,
Bruce Williams.
Take it easy, mate.
Just goes down on the pit apron. That's hairy stuff.
Wasn't bad, he caught it.
Well, that's Flip City. That's very much an edge there on the bottom lane, which is flat, and then when you flip up onto the start of the banking, he won't do that too many times.
Now, it has a habit of unsteadying the car no end, but he was able to survive that one. He'd gone in way too deep and then had to try and brush a lot of it off, or otherwise he'd been straight through the side door of Peter Fitzgerald. In the meantime, Fitzgerald closes on John Faulkner. This is the scrap, 4th and 5th. Faulkner with Fitzgerald closing, gets in the draft down through the tri-oval, looks towards the inside. There's not much room to play with there, and all the time car number 9 is making up ground again.
Yes, this is the kind of run that you love to have in front. On the radio, his team will be telling him.
Well, the car really does stick when he gets it in there on the inside. Now he has to work away at Faulkner going down the back straight. See what he can do. His forte is obviously catching them at the end of the straight and just diving to the low side.
Well, let's hope his ambitions aren't mixed up with his abilities with the moves like that, but he's certainly handling it well at this stage.
Here he goes again down the inside, drives it in deep, drives it in hard. Will it stick? Yes, it does.
Wow, he's on a real charge. Bruce Williams, former Auscar Rookie of the Year, first competed in an ex-Brad Jones Commodore VL. As they'd won that very exciting race in the last race of last season.
There's Bradley Jones, the Castrol Commodore, riding it hard down the back straight. 9 laps remaining in this opening round of the Goodyear Auscar Championship. Brad Jones, defending champion, 3-time winner of the Typhoon. But today has been the Brad Jones show at Calder Park Thunderdome. Keeps the car sticking to the low side of the circuit, comes off turn number 4, back through the tri-oval. Checkered flag is already waving as Brad Jones takes it across the line to win this afternoon's opening round of the championship from Grant Munday in 2nd place, Terry Wyhoon in 3rd, Bruce Williams 4th, and Kenny